What is up, homies? My name is Felix and I am here back again with another video for you all today. And this video is going to be a little tutorial on Hyperpop. So in all my research, I found that there's kind of like a little bit of a discrepancy between what Hyperpop is. So if you just search up Hyperpop type beat on YouTube, the first couple results that come up are like a Hyperpop X Lil Uzi type beat. And a lot of people think this is what Hyperpop is, but honestly, I don't really think that Lil Uzi fits into this category. That style of beat is more just like a Lil Uzi type beat, or maybe you can consider it like futuristic trap or something, I don't know. But the point is that it's not really hyperpop. But what I think hyperpop actually is, and the type of beat that I'm going to be showing you guys how to make today, is kind of more like 100 gecs, I think is how you say it. I don't really listen to them, but if you go on Wikipedia and just search up hyperpop, 100 gecs is like one of the first artists that they mention, and also they're in like the hyperpop Spotify playlist or whatever. But basically when it really comes down to it, hyperpop is just like a mix of EDM and like trap and like other, you know, genre elements and stuff too. So yeah, this is probably the closest that you guys will ever get to an EDM tutorial, so enjoy it while you can. But yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I've produced, my BeatStorm, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so. And now we can get into this video. Alright, so here we are inside FL Studio, and the first thing that you probably want to do is turn your tempo up to a pretty fast speed. So I'm going to turn mine up to like 183, because most of these beats are at a pretty fast tempo. So like I said, I'm kind of going to be basing this off of 100 gecs, but I'm sure there's a bunch of other artists and stuff that do this as well. And a few hyperpop beats slash 100 gecs songs, I've heard them use guitar, but I'm not going to be using guitar today. I want to make the melody for this beat really robotic sounding and chaotic, melodic, exotic. Basically, I'm kind of going for like a Geometry Dash soundtrack type vibe here. So the first thing I want to work on is the melody, so I'm just going to pull up Analog Lab. You don't have to use Analog Lab by any means. You basically just want to find like a really simple saw lead or something like that. So I'm going to use this preset right here. It sounds kind of like this. This is kind of the sound that you want to go for. And now what you want to do is basically just go in here and draw a bunch of random notes. So what you want to go for here with this lead is just something that jumps all over the place and is just kind of up and down and just really crazy and really fast. So literally just something like this would work. And I literally made that in like 3 seconds. So I changed this up a little bit and now I have this lead melody going on. And now I think what I want to do is just copy this over and make a slight variation. I think I'll change like 1 or 2 notes. So now we have our lead pattern going on. You can also do Alt-R to randomize the velocities a little bit, and that'll just give it a little bit more human feel. You don't really want a whole lot of human feel with these type of beats. Like I said earlier, you kind of want it to be really robotic and very like, you know, sounding. But yeah, so now that we have this, what I'm going to do is add a little bell pattern, and it's just going to go over top of this and the other things that we're going to add in later. So with this bell pattern, I kind of want it to play less frequently than the lead is, and it's also important to have it kind of complement the lead sound. So what I'm thinking is something like this. Just something like that, super basic pattern, and just have it repeat, because this part isn't going to be playing throughout the whole song. Kind of the idea that I have in my head for this beat is that I want there to be one section where it's like that club like type drums, and then it's going to go right into the like typical trap drums that you would hear on these type of beats. So this would probably be playing during the section where the main drums are. Okay, so I came up with this little pattern right here. It's basically just a variation on what I was showing you guys, and it sounds like this. So as you can hear, it kind of just moves along that lead sound, and it also complements it pretty well because it's playing some of the same notes. But what I am going to do though is hit Control and up to bring it up an octave, and now this is going to make it so that it doesn't get too muddy and too cluttered with all the other sounds that we're going to add. So now that we have this, what I want to do is add some sort of like 8-bit sound that follows these notes right here, these ones. And this will kind of be to incorporate some of like the more chiptune, I guess is the genre, aspects of hyperpop. So I'm going to find a sound that I can use for that real quick. So I just found the perfect sound for this. It sounds like this. And I'm just going to follow the bass notes with this little lead or whatever this thing is. Alright, so what we have going on right now sounds like this. So basically now what I want to do is work on the drums. I actually have a couple more melody type things that I want to add later on, because remember how I was saying that I wanted to add those like club type drums? We're going to do that and add those sounds in after we finish the like typical trap section. So as it is with any beat, the drums are going to be very important for this one. The drums that you want to use are kind of going to be a mix between like EDM and like typical trap drums. Also, I know I'm saying EDM a lot. EDM is a pretty broad genre, I think. I don't listen to any sort of like EDM type music, so that's why I'm just saying EDM. It's just a blanket statement. But yeah, so those are the type of drums that you want to look for. I'm just going to pick some drums real quick and then I will be back. So aside from your usual snare, kick, 808, hi-hat, you also want to grab some really just super weird sounds, just completely random sounds. The ones that I grabbed are these three. And you can add way more if you want, but you're just basically going to sprinkle these in throughout the beat and it's going to give it a very grungy, great type of feel. But the drums that I've selected are these ones right here. And as you can hear, that 808 is pretty insane, which is kind of what you want to go for with this. So yeah, basically with the drums, we're going to put the snare in a pretty basic, pretty standard place. And now we're going to put in the kick, and I'm just going to do a really basic trap pattern, something like this. And then we're going to turn up our velocities all the way, but before you do this, make sure that you have a soft clipper on your master track. Just basically go to your master track, click on soft clipper, and then you don't have to do anything after that. The soft clipper stops all your sounds from going above 0 dB, but it makes them slap way harder, so that's kind of what we want to go for. So yeah, we're just going to turn the velocities all the way up. So now that we have the kick, we can go to the hi-hats and just do fill each 2 steps. And if you want to just leave it like this, you're more than welcome to. But however, a lot of times these beats will have rolls and stuff in them. So I'm just going to do a couple little simple rolls, something like this. And you can do any sort of other variations that you want. You can make them lower pitched if you want to. You can make them higher pitched if you want to. It's totally up to you how you do it. I have heard certain songs where the hi-hats have more of a stuttery feel to them. So you can maybe do something like this. And literally all I did here was just take out certain notes from the original 2-step pattern, as you can see. But for this beat today, I'm just going to keep the simple 2-step pattern with a couple little rolls and stuff here and there. So essentially the hi-hat pattern is going to look like this. I just added a couple lower pitch notes here at the end, and then we have pretty basic rolls and stuff. So now that we have this, the final really important stuff with the drums is going to be the 808. So with the 808, I'm going to tune this one because I know it's going to be out of tune. Right click, edit an audio editor, regions, detect pitch regions. And the note that the sample is playing is D. So we're going to go in here and right click on D. And what I'm also going to do is a little trick that I usually use, and it's to go to the envelope thing and then turn this down, this up, this down, this up, and this down. And it's basically going to be like a little table, and this basically makes it to where you have complete control over the 808. So when the note in the piano roll stops, the 808 sample will stop playing as well. So you can do some cool kind of like stuttery effects with this, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. So I'm just going to start this out by copying the exact pattern of the kick, but except with the bass notes that you can see right here. And now what we're going to do is spice this 808 pattern up a little bit. So I'm going to just drag this 808 note to right where the snare hits. And this 808 sample is pretty short as it is, but this will just make sure that it stops right when that snare hits, and it just gives it a really cool sound. As you can hear, it gives it a little pause right before the next 808 comes in, and I think that sounds pretty dope. And I'm just going to do that with literally every 808 that's right before a snare. But one other thing that I want to do is add kind of like a bouncy 808 note right here, and it just gives it a little bit better bounce and rhythm and whatnot. And also what you could do is pitch it up an octave too, so it sounds like this. But that's totally up to you and how you want it to sound. So now at this point, we're pretty much almost done with this section of the beat. As you can see here, the last thing that we have to do is put in all these weird percussion sounds. And this is totally up to you how you want to do it. I would say don't overcrowd it with these type of sounds because our melody is already super chaotic and crowded and stuff. So we want to keep it a little bit more simple and have these weird percussion sounds kind of just accent the beat a little bit. So you can see right here, I didn't really go too crazy with these sounds. I just added them as needed. And now all the drums sound like this together. So now what we're going to work on, because we have this section done, is the other section that I was talking about that I want to be like kind of a thing. So I'm going to take all this stuff out and put it into its own pattern right here. And I'm actually going to do split by channel on this so that we have each and every individual sound. And then we're going to add a new pattern right here like this so we can actually work on it. So this is going to be super easy to do. All you have to do is just put your kicks like this and then just turn all the velocities up like this. And it's just going to sound like a bunch of bombs are going off. And then we're just gonna add the snare in right here and also turn up the velocity all the way. But we're not gonna play that snare throughout the whole thing, only more towards the end, I think. And the last drum sound that we're gonna add to this whole beat is only gonna be used for this section, and it's that super basic club sounding open hat that you've probably heard a million times. It sounds kind of like this. This is probably like a variation of it. It's not the exact one that they always use, but this will do just fine. And with this, we're just gonna do one of these. So now I think I'm just gonna add 2 more sounds. The last sound is some sort of bass, like a sub bass or something like that, not an 808. And then I'm also gonna try to find some sort of typical EDM gated pad that we can use as well. So I found these 2 sounds, both from a plugin called Hybrid. The first one sounds like this. And then I also have this super basic bass sound. And what I'm gonna do with both of these sounds is super simple. I'm just gonna copy this pattern right here and now go back into this pattern. And for this, I'm just gonna paste it and then pitch it up by 1. And then I'm also gonna paste it into the bass section. But however, with the bass section, I'm gonna just copy these ghost notes that you see right here, but except using the same bass notes. So now pretty much we have this section completed. It sounds like this. And of course we're gonna have the lead over top of this too. But the last thing I wanna do is just add a little bit of a crazy snare roll, just something like this. And then probably right there, I'll have the other drums drop in. So now that we have pretty much both of these sections completed, the only 2 things I really have left to do is mixing and just laying out the beat. So before I mix anything, I'm actually gonna lay out the beat because I have like a specific way in my mind that I want the beat to be. So we're going to go in here and just do split by channel for this. And then I'm just gonna rename these drums because I don't want it to get confusing when we have the other drums as well. So now that this is clearly identifiable as a different section, we're just gonna have this bass that we made, and then the pad, and then all those drums, and then I think this little like chiptune sound, and then the original lead. And this is probably gonna be our first section, except I'm gonna move this stuff over, and then I'm also gonna have like a little intro or something. But anyways, from right here, I'm just gonna have the basic trap pattern playing, and then maybe have it play for like 32 bars, and then I'll switch up the drums and stuff, so maybe I'll take out this sound, and then maybe for this section right here, I'll take out some of those crazy percussion sounds, and then I'll just keep doing stuff like that throughout the whole beat. And then maybe I'll repeat this little pattern right here later on, but I'm not totally sure yet. But yeah, so the other important thing, the last thing that we have to do with this beat is mixing, and I'm just going to go like this and do Control L, and this assigns everything to its own mixer track. And there honestly isn't that much that goes into my mixing process, but there is a couple really important key things that I'm going to show you. So just the basic stuff is that I'll put an EQ onto each one of the sounds and then cut out the frequencies that we don't need. And then for this beat, I'm just going to widen all the melody parts a whole lot, so like that. And then I'm probably just going to add a bunch of reverb and stuff, maybe some chorus here and there. But the more important and more complicated thing that I want to show you guys is how to sidechain your kick so that it makes everything else drop way down in volume every time it hits, because it's kind of like a really popular EDM sound that you'll hear in a lot of tracks like that. So basically what I'm gonna do is just put all the melody parts right next to each other, and then we're just gonna hold down on Control and then click across all the melody parts. And then we're gonna find just an empty mixer track and right click on this and then do route to this track only, and then the entire melody will be playing through here. But once you have all of the stuff routed to one mixer track, what we're gonna do is take the kick, so we're just gonna click on it, and then we're gonna left click here and then drag this down. So now this is sidechained to this track. So if we put a limiter on here like this, we can go to the compressor tab and now turn the knee all the way up, the ratio all the way up, and then the release we can turn down a little bit, and then the threshold will adjust as we need it. So I'm not an expert on sidechaining. If anyone wants to tell me what's the difference between all of these different sidechain things, let me know. You can go through and listen to each one and how it affects your track differently. Sidechain number 6 seems to be giving me the most like the vibe that I want to go for. So I'm just going to turn the release down a little bit, and then the threshold, just maybe bring it to like the top of the sound right here. As you can hear, what we've done is basically made the kick sound like it hits way harder because it's just bringing the volumes of everything else down, which is a pretty cool effect. So now the only other thing with the mix that's kind of a given if you have some sort of beat making experience is I'm just gonna level everything. So I'm just gonna go through one by one and listen to how the sounds are. So I'm gonna turn this down a little bit, and then we'll listen to this section right here. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole mixing process and everything. So yeah, at this point we're pretty much done with the whole beat. I just laid everything out, added a couple different sections in there. Obviously everything I told you here today is pretty subjective. You can add a lot more stuff if you want to. I would definitely say that this genre is pretty experimental. It's really just all about you playing around with it, messing around with a bunch of different weird stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This isn't totally my genre, but these beats are really fun to make and they do get your head bopping a little bit. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you guys want to, and I will see you guys next time.
I've been laying low, waiting for the payroll. Once I get it, know I got it, I ain't never letting go. Well shit, cause I said so. Hit a KO with a sick flow. Pick up, talk shit, get money, pay phone. Make sure I get what I came for. Make damn sure you